We are live and on location, as I mentioned, the Black Building, and the former mayor of the great city of Fargo is here, Bruce Furness. Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm fine. Doing great.
Nice to see you. I remember all of our many conversations over the years.
Yeah, we did have a lot of meetings.
Yeah, we
together,
did, yes.
Yeah.
And are you enjoying retirement?
I am. I'm trying to stay out of everything.
Are you? You had enough of everything.
Yep.
Now you can stay out of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
bring me back to the original vision for the Renaissance Zone. I know this was a policy of the legislature. But I believe there was some collaboration with the city of Fargo to say, if you do this, here's what we think will happen. Just talk about that beginning and how it all began.
well, we started out doing something that had nothing to do with the Renaissance Zone. We had tried several different things. We tried a plan for downtown when I first got in the mayor's job, and we used the downtown community people who had an office here to do that plan. And like most plans, it got done, sat on the shelf for forever, as far as I know. And so that didn't get much done. And so then we started doing some other things. But we talked to a person in Michigan, a gal in Michigan. I don't remember which city it was now, but the economic development people were involved in that. And she described what they did with the Renaissance Zone back there. And so we said, we'll talk to her and copy that and see how it works here. So that was kind of our third shot at trying to get something going downtown. Was this Renaissance Zone. And it went to the legislature. We spent a lot of time out at the legislature. I think it was the 1999 legislature. And finally that got approved by the legislature. It's approved by the city commission, and we were ready to go. And so in 2000, we started trying to figure out how to make it work.
And as you look at the downtown Fargo that was there as you were talking about this, about tapping into, hey, what did Michigan try and how did it work versus now, how do you describe that?
Well, it's amazing what has gone on, and there's lots of things that have happened besides the Renaissance Zone to try to increase what's going on downtown, but the Renaissance Zone definitely was the catalyst for some other things, and I've got a list of them, but I had that list way back then, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I guess now, I don't know, and I've kept that out, and I found it, and so I'm ready to give my little speech at the ribbon cutting. So.
Well, I mean, and just in dollars, I've heard prior to the boom, if you will, of 2000 and saying we're going to do something to now, you go from $200 million in property tax value to like $800 million, is that right?
I'm not sure what the number is anymore, but that's what has happened. And what happened is you took a building that was really a mess and it wasn't paying any taxes or very little taxes, and then we encouraged the owner of that building through the Renaissance Zone to clean it up, give him a tax-free 5 years, and then after 5 years he or she had to start paying taxes again. And in most cases, those taxes that were lost were made up in the 6th year automatically.
Because the value of a building was so much more.
Yeah. And after that, sort of was, the tax was there forever. And so it really worked out well. It did increase the taxes coming to the city and probably some other places as well.
As you think about, somebody coming to Fargo that might want to locate a manufacturing plant here or, a new Microsoft or whatever it might be and say, hey, what's going on in Fargo? I want to do that. How is downtown utilized in recruiting people to town? Well,
there's just a lot of young people living downtown now. With NDSU having space downtown, that really helped the downtown. That's one of the things I had on my list here. But it's young people's city now, and young people live here, and a lot of them are living downtown and enjoying themselves, and so I think it's a great recruiting tool also. I don't know that we were always trying to get people to come with economic development, and that I think really has helped that particular part of the city.
There was a time, and I moved here in 2001, but I remember visiting Fargo prior to that because I lived in Grand Forks for 18 years before that, where it was, I would say, a little dangerous to be downtown Fargo, where it was a lot of panhandling and a lot of sort of aggressive behavior from folks. That was one of the reasons that you launched this effort, wasn't it?
Part of it, yep. We just wanted to make downtown better, and it was kind of scary to be walking down the streets back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 20, I guess. And now it's still some issues downtown. There's places where people go to drink and come get out and come back out on the sidewalks, and sometimes there's problems. But it's nothing like it was back then. And now you walk down the streets, and you have people wandering along the streets, walking back and forth, going into the stores at night, until all those particular locations are open. So I always told people on a Friday night in Fargo back then that you could fire a cannon down Broadway and not hit anything. There's just nothing down there. No cars, no people. So it's been a remarkable change.
Chatting with Bruce Furness, who is the former mayor of the city of Fargo. We are in the Black Building. They are celebrating 90 years, cutting a ribbon today on that, and having a little ceremony at 10:30 today, and then the opening continues until 1 o'clock. So the open house, you can come on by and take a look and see everything that's happening down here. They have refreshments. Looks like really good refreshments. And little snacks and lots of other things that are happening down here. So we're on the 5th floor. The 5th floor is what they renovated. What do you remember about this building?
Well, it was when I first moved to Fargo, this building had the Sears store in it and offices up and down. And it was kind of a nice building way back then. That was about 50 years ago when I got here. And it was a skyscraper, from those days. And so it was a building that was used by many different organizations and businesses. They moved people in and out as it occurred. But it was like the building that's going up over across the street.
There's a building called Block 9. It'll be the
9.
Tallest building but for the state capitol
right.
when it's done here.
Yeah. So back in those days, this was the skyscraper.
And despite the Renaissance Zone, it had some owners that weren't interested in renovating it. And so it became a bit of an eyesore, really.
It did. We had difficulty. The city had difficulty with the people that owned it. As I remember it, there were two separate sets of people, and they couldn't get along to what needed to be done. But we had problems with the elevators in here. We had problems with heat in here. And the city tried to get those problems resolved, and we didn't get much progress. So this is going to be a complete new building after they're all done here. It's just amazing what they've done in this building.
And the original sign is out front now, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I would encourage folks from all across North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, if you haven't been downtown, come down and see it. I mean, you got 90 years of history here, and you got a skyscraper going up across the street from here, which is new. There's talk that there's others in the works as well, and all of that began with a vision to say we got to do something about downtown. I don't want to be able to shoot a cannon and not hit anything. I want to have a vibrancy, and there's so much going on, and really, I mean, if you're recruiting somebody. Or somebody's coming to town, a family member, whatever, you bring them downtown. You just do. You bring them downtown. You don't take them to the mall. West Acres is fine, but you just don't take anybody to a mall because every town's got a mall, right?
They all do,
yeah. And this is unique, and this is tons of history here and a lot of vibrancy. So it's
and the mall is what kind of prompted the problem downtown, because all these, not all of them, but many of these businesses downtown went out to the mall, and that was part of the problem, that things were empty. The buildings were empty, and they weren't being taken care of. And again, the Renaissance Zone changed all of that to cause that to take care of the buildings downtown. It's been, as I said, a remarkable recovery.
So, did you ever envision it would get to this point? I mean, when you go back and look at your notes and say what we hope will happen?
No, well, I never remember. I never recalled that it would get a big 18-floor skyscraper across the street downtown. And now they're talking about yet another one. And I don't know anything about that, but that's kind of the rumor going around now. And this one being cleaned up makes a huge difference, too. So, yeah, it's...
Just in total, though. I mean, you look at again, this is controversial to some people. They say, why are you giving incentives to developers? Just let them build the building and put it up, right? And yet you can go back and say, well, we could shoot a cannon through downtown.
Yeah.
Now we have 18-story skyscraper going up. We got a renovated, iconic building, 90 years old. We've got all this other thing going on. And by the way, that's happening in every city across North Dakota. Not every city, but a lot of cities have taken advantage of the very same Renaissance Zone program and doing it. And they had, in this case, $200 million of property tax value down to 800 or 900 million. That's just an incredible number when you think about it. I mean, that's That has to make it. I mean, did you ever think it'd be that big, that much investment?
No, I didn't. But it has been that way. And also, you talk about the other cities. I think I haven't looked at this lately, but I think at one time there were 50 other cities, communities in North Dakota that had a Renaissance zone going. And so it helped everybody, not just Fargo.
Absolutely. I mean, Watford City was one of the first.
Yeah.
The Stenson family did a nice job. Bismarck, too, has really gotten, in the last 10 years, aggressive with it and looking at other things as well. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Anything else you want to tell us?
Nope. I'm looking forward to the ribbon cutting and give a little talk there and see what happens.
Should be fun. Have you been on the patio yet?
Yeah, we went out there.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they actually added a patio. That wasn't there. That's a new feature. But you can go outside 5 stories up and have a good little view of downtown Fargo here on the 5th floor. So
that's kind of a thing now in Fargo, is having these little patios. There's one right across the windows here. And
they're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah,
rooftops.
Rooftops. And people go out there and they have lunch out there and they have drinks after work.
It's a thing in New York City, too.
Yeah,
it's a thing in a lot of big cities, so it's kind of nice to have it. Thanks, Mayor. Good to see you.
Yep, good to see you again.